All right, so here is our video review for the quiz on solving absolute value equations. Looking at number 1, we have the absolute value of 5 plus v equals 11. So remember that the key to this is understanding that if the absolute value of 5 plus v equals 11, that means that 5 plus v can either equal positive or negative 11 because both of those numbers have an absolute value of 11. So that becomes two separate equations. The first one is going to look just like this one without the absolute value bars. So we have 5 plus v equals positive 11. And then the second equation is going to be the same, but with a negative 11. So we have 5 plus v equals negative 11. And now we solve both equations. So here we have a positive 5 that we need to get rid of. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. The 5's cancel out, leaving us with v equals, and 11 minus 5 is 6. In the second equation, once again, we are going to subtract 5 from both sides. They cancel out, and we get v equals, same sign, add them together and keep the sign, so this equals negative 16. So our two solutions are 6 and negative 16. Okay, so looking at number 2, we have the absolute value of 5x minus 5 equals 40. So if the absolute value of 5x minus 5 equals 40, that means that 5x minus 5 either equals positive 40 or negative 40. So we write two equations. Again, the first one is going to look just like this without the absolute value bars. So we have 5x minus 5 equals 40. And the second equation is going to be exactly the same, except with a negative 40. So 5x minus 5 equals negative 40. And then we go ahead and we solve both equations. So first we're going to add 5 to both sides. And over here we get 5x equals 40 plus 5 is 45. Then we're going to divide both sides by 5. And we get x equals 9. Now in the second equation, again, we're going to add 5 to both sides. But now on this side, since it's a negative 40 plus 5, that's negative 35. Then we divide both sides by 5, and we get x equals negative 7. So our solution is going to be 9 and negative 7. All right, for number 3, we have negative 8 times the absolute value of n plus 6 equals negative 16. Now, in order to solve absolute value equations, we need to isolate the absolute value in the same way that we isolate variables. So in order to isolate this absolute value of n plus 6, we need to get rid of this negative 8, which is multiplying the absolute value of n plus 6. So in order to get rid of it, we are going to divide both sides by negative 8. Over here, they cancel out, leaving us with the absolute value of n plus 6 equals, and negative 16 divided by negative 8 is positive 2. Now that we have the absolute value section isolated, now we can solve. So if the absolute value of n plus 6 equals 2, that means n plus 6 either equals positive 2 or negative 2. So we write those two equations. N plus 6 equals positive 2, and then n plus 6 equals negative 2. So in the first equation, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. We get n equals 2 minus 6, different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And in the second equation, once again, we are going to subtract 6 from both sides. Cancel out, we get n equals, and here negative 2 minus 6, same sign, add them together and keep the sign. So this is negative 8. So our two solutions are negative 4 and negative 8. Number 4, we have 10 plus the absolute value of n plus 4 equals 4. Once again, we need to isolate the absolute value, so we need to subtract 10 from both sides. Here the 10's cancel out, leaving us with the absolute value of n plus 4 equals, and 4 minus 10 is negative 6. Now right here we can stop because absolute value is never a negative number. Therefore, there is no solution for this equation. All right, now in number 5, we have negative 3 times the absolute value of 3 minus 2k equals negative 21. Once again, we need to isolate our absolute value, so we need to get rid of this negative 3, which is multiplying. Therefore, we have to divide both sides by negative 3. So on the left, we end up with the absolute value of 3 minus 2k equals, and negative 21 divided by negative 3 is positive 7. Now we know that if the absolute value of 3 minus 2k equals 7, that means 3 minus 2k can either equal positive 7 or negative 7. So we write our two equations. The first one will be 3 minus 2k equals positive 7, and the second one will be 3 minus 2k equals negative 7. So in the first equation, we need to get rid of this positive 3. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We end up with negative 2k equals 7 minus 3 is 4. Next, we need to divide both sides by negative 2. And we get our first solution, k equals negative 2. In the second equation, again, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. And we end up with negative 2k equals, this time it's a negative 7. So negative 7 minus 3, same sign, add them together. That gives us negative 10. Then again, we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And that gives us our second solution, k equals positive 5. So our solution here is going to be negative 2 and positive 5. And for our last equation, we have 9 times the absolute value of 3 plus 8m plus 2 equals 47. So again, we need to isolate the absolute value, and here we have 2 steps to perform before we can do that. So first, we need to subtract 2 from both sides, and we end up with 9 times the absolute value of 3 plus 8m equals 45. Now, to isolate the absolute value, we need to undo this multiplication by 9, so we're going to divide both sides by 9. And this gives us the absolute value of 3 plus 8m equals 5. So once again, if the absolute value of 3 plus 8m equals 5, that means 3 plus 8m either equals positive 5 or negative 5. So we write our two equations. The first one, 3 plus 8m equals positive 5. And the second one, 3 plus 8m equals negative 5. So now we're going to subtract 3 from both sides to get rid of that 3. We end up with 8m equals 5 minus 3 is 2. And then we divide both sides by 8. So we get m equals, we have the fraction 2/8. All we have to do is simplify it. 2/8 in simplest form is 1/4. So that's one of our solutions. And in the second equation, we subtract 3 from both sides. And we get 8m equals negative 5 minus 3. Same sign, add them together and keep the sign. So that's going to be negative 8. Then we divide both sides by 8. And we get our second solution, m equals negative 1. So our two solutions for this equation are 1/4 and negative 1. All right, I hope that this video helps you to prepare for your quiz on solving absolute value equations. Good luck!